Hello, my name is Val Kucherenko. I'm a Director of Railway Education with Michigan State University Center for Railway Research and Education. Today, we have a pleasure of interviewing Peter Gilbertson, President and Chief Executive Officer of Anacostia Rail Holdings Company, which owns and operates 6 freight railroads across the United States. Combined, these railroads handle more than 2 million carloads each year. Peter, thank you.
Yes, well, we've been users of the program since 2010. Since then, we've had, I believe, 11 or 12 candidates that have been sent. We're sending 3 this year. And so we've had a long duration with it, and it's been really very valuable to our organization. Well, many of our management leaders come up through the ranks. They're hired. They don't know anything about the railroad business, and they're hired for some specific task like locomotive engineer. And the leaders, really, many of them come up that way. And we see leadership qualities in them, we see thoughtfulness, we see competence and merit, but they don't have the training and leadership because that's not part of their resume. So there are exceptions to that. Obviously, we hire experienced people to be managers in many cases, but a good half of our leaders are up through the ranks. So there's a real need to supplement their background with leadership training, but also context about the larger industry. They know their specific job, but they need to see what the other job functions are. They need to do it in an environment that is based on learning and not based on, getting the task done that day. So it can be very valuable in that sense. One of the ways you build a cohesive culture is investing in your people. And there's a benefit to the company of making that investment, but the manager also sees that investment and sees that the company is interested enough in their progression to make that investment, to let them go off and do the program for a while and not be in their line management function, whatever that might be. So it has its obvious front range benefit of skill enhancement, but it also builds culture by showing that we're all trying to get better at what we do. It's part of a larger management training effort that we're trying to do that brings in various elements, that some of them are railroad specific, some of them are really just basic corporate management, people leadership, dealing with challenges, dealing with difficult people. I mean, these are skills that stretch across every business. And again, there's no reason to think that someone who's a very good locomotive engineer should have those skills. But that's why we encourage these kinds of programs. And your program has been particularly good at sort of the big picture and the more focused picture. We've had 2 employees that have gone through the program, and one, again, started as an assistant engineer or conductor and is now the president of one of our railroads. So it's a great example of that kind of homegrown talent that was there, but that we tried to supplement and enhance and broaden with your program. In another case, an employee, again, entered with no railroad skills, hired in a group, is now the vice president of our largest railroad. So this is the kind of homegrown evolution that we've seen. We're really proud of that. And these people understand those companies very well. Now, one of the benefits of your program is that's a strength that they come from that company, but it's also a limitation. They haven't seen other railroads. They haven't seen other businesses in many cases. So your program provides a broadening in that. Here are the common themes. They aren't unique to your specific company. Here's the larger industry and what some of the larger industry challenges are. And it's not just from your perspective, it's from a more industry perspective. So that is a real broadening and enhancing element. The other element of your program that's very useful is the peer network that is created. You have people from, again, all different places in the industry. And one of the things that can be learned from that is we have common challenges, we have common frustrations, and maybe the most comfortable thing for me to do as a manager is call one of my peers that's working somewhere else, and let's think through that together. So there's been that kind of benefit that we've clearly seen from your program. And again, that makes them better managers. It gives them more job satisfaction. I'm not the only one who's dealing with these kinds of issues. And again, part of it is the direct training and education that you're providing. Part of it is that chemistry that happens when you get these people together. Well, again, everyone says, we're dedicated to our employees and our employees are our most important element. But because everyone says it, its meaning is only there if you actually manifest that in real actions. And one of the ways, and there's many ways, but is investing in your leaders in a way that will enhance their skills. And so this program does that. And it's evidence of a commitment by the company to provide skill enhancement. And it isn't just skills. Again, it's beyond that. It's that you're a future leader. You need this kind of message that we think you're a future leader. And so to answer your question, our retention, and I looked through it again today, of the people that have taken the program, all but one of them is still with us. And this is a group that has really become some of the core leadership in our company that have taken this program. Having some confidence is important as a leader. You may not always feel confident, but it's important to at least model confidence. But it shouldn't be false confidence. It shouldn't be bravado. And one of the things that this program does is to get immediately, that we can see when these people come back from the program, is they say, I've seen some things that I'm doing right and I can enhance. There's some things that I've learned that I may change, but it gives some confidence. And that's an immediate benefit. Longer term, there's benefits of seeing the larger industry. And one thing I should say about our properties is that while we're a small railroad and we're a small business, we have some incredibly complex operations. One of our graduates of the program, Marlon Taylor, is now the president of the New York and Atlantic Railroad. He, again, was hired as an engineer out in our railroad in California. He transferred to New York. And this is a railroad that runs the freight operation on the Long Island Railroad in New York. There's 700 passenger trains a day on this network, and us, and with 10 to 15 freight operations a day. So it's an unforgiving safety and operating environment. It's challenging in every way. It is headquarters in Queens, which has its own challenges. So while we are smaller, we have really manifest complexity. We operate in the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. We operate a railroad in northern Indiana that has 50 commuter trains on it, and we share that corridor. We operate a railroad in southern Indiana that shares the corridor with CSX and has 5 to 10 CSX mainline trains over it. So we need to be just as good as the big guys, and part of this program is to show them the larger world of railroading and business, and that they can compete and survive in that environment. Well, this is an industry that desperately needs leadership and innovation and the willingness to try new things. We are losing market share and have been for a number of years. And so we have to address that problem. And how do we do that? We do it with people, and we do it with people that are empowered to lead and empowered to change and empowered to try things, and be willing to fail too. And part of what short-line railroading we conceive is being willing to try some different things. We can do it on a smaller scale. It doesn't have as much impact, which is the bad news, but it's also if it doesn't work, we can try something else. And for many people, that's a very empowering environment. And but again, the industry needs those skills, and we all need to up our game in this business. So you're institution, and your program is one of the tools to do that. And again, it's getting us out of our little day-to-day problems and saying there's bigger challenges here. There's things in the industry that the trends are going this way or that way, and you need to know what those trends are. And we try to, once these people go through this program, they have an appetite for more information about what is happening with the macro trends in the industry, not just, am I doing my job well? And that's important because they're all related, obviously. Good. Well, I think that's something the industry could do a much better job of is knowledge sharing. We're a completely interdependent network. And short line and small railroads are virtually 100% interline business. So everything we do is we're delivering a car, we're picking up a car, and we're connecting with another railroad. So it isn't enough to run our little world correctly. We have to interface with the rest of the industry. And there are ways of improving that are really industry initiatives, and this industry has real difficulty doing these things because there's all this competition that exists in the big railroads, which is a good thing, but often it's hard to adopt these things that are across the industry. But things are happening. Rail Pulse is a good example. We just joined that. We're equipping cars with that. And that's the other thing that I think people that go through a program like yours have an appetite then to say, I'm dedicating my life as a career to this business. How do we make it grow? And that is a crucial appetite to have if you're going to be a leader, I think. It can't be just, I'm doing my job better than I did yesterday. It's like, what is the bigger picture? And you give some exposure to that. And again, that peer network is part of that too. Well, one would be to take it seriously and talk to the faculty and get a relationship there. The other would be to get to know your peer students and use that opportunity. You never know how that may manifest itself. In the most basic way, it's a career network for jobs, but more importantly, it's best practices. It's how do we fix these things? And these tend to be the younger leaders that thankfully are going to be leading this industry in the future, and their creativity and energy level is important. So I would say to them, take advantage of it, have some energy associated with it, use it, don't view it as a one-off or as a box-checking exercise. It's really, a step to do other things.